And a very good evening to you, and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101, Tuesday evening. Um, you're joining us from all parts of the diaspora. Welcome, whether you're joining us from Guyana, um, home base. Welcome to Politics 101, our first show for the week on a Tuesday evening. Hello to you. Hello to you. If you're coming at us from in Guyana, welcome to Politics 101. Of course, there's CPL cricket going on in Guyana, and we will be using cricket as the jump off point for our discussion tonight. So please share the link. Share the link. If you're joining us from Trinidad and Tobago, welcome. The rivalry between Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana in the cricket was very much evident when the Amazon Warriors beat the Knight Riders. Today wasn't so good for those who are following or supporting the Warriors. Lost this morning badly. They lost badly today to Barbados. Raheem Cornwall, the big man from Antigua, really tore Guyana apart. Sparkling 91, and then he came back and took a couple of wickets. Guyana lost badly. So the game this evening between the St. Lucia Kings and the Jamaica Tallawers, whoever wins that game will have to play Guyana tomorrow, and they will then decide, that game will decide who goes into the final with the Barbados Royal. So that's it there for the CPL that it is bringing out the crowds in Guyana, and we're going to talk about cricket. Not so much about cricket, but the politics, because you see the large crowds that are out there, the PPP people are saying, look, Guyanese are out there and they're partying together, they're cheering on their team together. What are you all talking about, apartheid in Guyana? I'm going to use that as my jumping off point tonight for our discussion on race, racial unity, and cricket, clutching at straws. The PPP people are clutching at straws. Welcome to Politics 101. Please share the link. Please share the link. Please share the link. Those of you who are joining us from Barbados, lots of our Guyanese brothers and sisters there in Barbados. You know, I remember the Barbadians. They were in love. They were in love with Carl Hooper. Those of you who are old enough to remember Carl Hooper, Sir Carl, he was crowned Sir Carl in Barbados. I happened to be at the Kensington Oval a couple of times when Hooper came out to bat. I mean, the entire Barbados loved him, Sir Carl. Sir Carl, they called him. However, that did not stop the Barbadians from having a Guyana bench, from turning back Guyanese from Barbados, and so on and so forth. They loved the Guyanese cricketer Carl Hooper. They loved him more than they loved their own Bajan cricketers. I saw that with my own eyes. And the Barbadians have a taste for cricket and good batsmanship. And so they loved Carl Hooper. It didn't stop them from having a bench at the airport. So welcome to Politics 101. We're going to talk tonight about the PPP clutching for straws, looking for anything that they can look and say, look how Guyanese living nice together. Guyanese are human beings. Aren't we not? Aren't we not human beings? And we can live nice together when it necessitates. We've been doing that all the time. All the time. All the time. Welcome to Politics 101. Tonight, if you're joining us from Jamaica, the Jamaica Tallowers, of course, tonight is playing against the St. Lucia Kings. Welcome to Politics 101. Brooklyn in the house. Brooklyn in the house. Welcome, Brooklyn. Tennessee. Tennessee is in the house. Down there in Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee area. Some Guyanese live around there, Mount Pleasant. I know there's some Guyanese down there in Mount Pleasant. I used to visit there quite a bit a couple of decades ago. Welcome to Politics 101, St. Kitts Nevis. If you are in the house, welcome. Welcome, St. Kitts Nevis. St. Vincent, those of you from St. Vincent, welcome to Politics 101. You know, I've been following cricket now for 50 odd years. I started to follow cricket as a boy when the Indians visited in 1971. That was the first time I remember taking an active interest in cricket. Began to listen on the radio, that Indian team, Gavaskar and Sardesai and Solkar and Bishan Singh Bedi and Venta Karagavan and Durrani, and you know the Lord Relator did a calypso. Gavaskar, you know, they couldn't out him at all, just like a wall. They couldn't out Gavaskar at all. That's when Gavaskar announced himself. So now Gavaskar, the little master, announcing himself on the cricket scene. Guyana, the West Indies team at that time was led by Gary Sobers, included Rohan Kanai and Clive Lloyd and Roy Fredericks and so forth. Joey Carew was one of the openers. Charlie Davis. I remember 1971, 70-71 when the Indians visited. So, you know, I've been following this cricket thing now for 50 odd years and so forth, you know. Welcome to Politics 101. If you're joining us from the quarantine, welcome. If you're joining us from New Amsterdam, the Bobbystown, welcome from West Coast Bobbies, East Coast of Demerara. That's my hunting ground. Welcome if you join us from Georgetown, or from Linden, or from the East Bank. Welcome. If you join us from Toronto, Canada, I notice my friend Alison Pearson, joining us, of course, from Toronto via the Essequibo. The Essequibo there, she's a Queenstoner, and she's saying that the Warriors will rebound tomorrow night. Well, we'll see. They will have to beat. They'll have to beat whoever wins tonight to get into the finals. And you know, they've been going to the playoffs now for 10 years, never really took home the trophy. But it's good to see the enthusiasm that we're seeing around cricket. You know, I don't believe it's a real Guyana team. I mean, I support the Warriors, don't get me wrong, because it has Guyana on it. But, you know, it's franchise cricket. It's you know, we have players from Afghanistan, you know, playing for us. We have players from Bangladesh, and we have players from South Africa playing, New Zealand. So it's franchise cricket. You know, it has the Guyana name, And do you believe this is the first year that there's a Guyanese captain of the Amazon Warriors? Etmaya is the first Guyanese captain in 10 years. That's the nature of franchise cricket. So, yeah, it's Guyana. The majority of players there are from Guyana. I think about 6 or 7 of the players are from Guyana. Etmaya, Hemraj, Timo Paul, Romario Shepard, Gutekesh Moti, young Junior Sinclair. So there are 6 Guyanese in the team, and that's good enough. Half the team, and the captain is from Guyana. But it's franchise cricket. It's festival cricket, and it's good to see people attach some ownership of the team. Somebody is reminding me that Lance Gibbs was a member of that 1971 team. I remember Lance Gibbs and Jamaican wicket-keeper putting on a partnership. Gibbs made his highest score at Bordeaux that year, 25. I remember as a little boy, you jump in on the radio when Lance Gibbs, who was your quintessential number 11 batsman, making 25. I'm trying to remember the name of the wicket-keeper. He was a Jamaican. He played that series. He never played again for the West Indies. One of the cricket people, I'm sure, is going to remind me of the Jamaican wicketkeeper's name in that 71 series. Welcome to Politics 101. So I support the Amazon Warriors, like most Guyanese are doing. And it's good to see Guyanese out there in the crowd having a good time. Guyanese of all races. And more now, when I started to pay attention to cricket 50 odd years ago, not too many women would go to cricket. I know the women followed cricket on the radio in those days. We didn't have TV in Guyana. And women followed, but they didn't go to cricket. Now, as I look at the crowds, there are more women in the audience than men. And I listen to women analyze cricket, and their analysis of cricket is sometimes superior to the men. So they're not just following the game, they are into the game. Yes, cricket is a West Indian thing. It's a game that was brought here by our slave masters. And it was a game that was meant to train our Caribbean people to be good English people. It was part of the socializing of we, the natives, socializing us to be Englishmen, to be Afro-Saxons. And we turned the game, as we did with many things British, we turned cricket into a tool of liberation. A tool of liberation. Something that was meant to be a tool of domination. We turned it into a tool of liberation. And so cricket was part of the process of liberation. It was the process, part of the process of decolonization. Perhaps the greatest book written on cricket was written by our own C.L.R. James, Trinidadian, West Indian, and his book, Beyond the Boundary, is rated as the best cricket book ever written. And what James did in that book was to draw the nexus, the relationship between West Indian nationhood and cricket. And his argument that cricket was at the center of West Indian nationhood. And it's rated as one of the best book on cricket. I'm saying, Dr. Hinds, I'm disappointed I'm disappointed at your support of a team that was bought by stolen money through soul swords and drug contracts and NIS money via the Barbies Bridge. I love, you know why? Let me tell you why I love Guyanese and I love West Indians. Don't take people like me to come to teach you all. In fact, there are things that we learn. And I was getting there, but Conrad got there before me. One of the reasons I'm not hot on franchise cricket is precisely because of what Conrad says here. The ownership of this team is part of Mr. Jagdeo Cabal. I don't know if Mr. Jagdeo has a stake on it, but the person who's the owner of the team, the company that owns the team, is Mr. Jagdeo friend them. It's the people who own channel, I don't know what's the number now, maybe it's 28. Guyana Times. These are the people who own this franchise. That is why I'm saying it's not a Guyana team. It's a team that is owned. It's a team that is owned. You see, I don't like to talk. I don't like to call name, but watch. Allison got it right. Look, Yuri. Everybody knows Bobby Ramroop. That's your friend. He's a mega business person. So this team is not a Guyana team. This is Bobby Ramroop team. And it's a tribute to something in the Guyanese and West Indian spirit. That although we know that our love for the game is what took us and what is taking our people there in large numbers. I think almost everybody knows who owns the team. Everybody knows who's getting rich off of this Guyana Warriors. Everybody knows that. I am not saying this is the reason people should not go. I am in support of people going out and enjoying their cricket because what Guyanese are doing, we are showing car. We are showing that despite the ownership of the team and who owns the team, our love for the game supersedes everything else. I am not on franchise cricket. I am not hot on 2020 cricket, but I've come around to it. Mortimer, give me the answer. Desmond Lewis is a Jamaican wicketkeeper in 1971. Very good batsman, very in the classical mold. Before Lawrence Rowe, because Lawrence Rowe came into the team in 1972, the year after Rowan Kallicharran. But Desmond Lewis was the keeper. Desmond Lewis. He had, as we would say in Guyana, a little cockeye, a little shiny eye. Yeah, well, was a good batsman and did well in that series. So I'm saying we know the ownership of the team. But our people, thanks Mortimer for that. And that's why I can depend always, I say that to those friends of mine, that on these programs, if you miss a beat, somebody is going to fill in the missing link. Somebody's going to fill in the missing link. And Gary is usually very stinging. Wrong, sir, everyone doesn't know Ramroop owned the team. Some know, but turn a blind eye because of crumbs from master table. All right, there we have it. I mean, Gary is usually a person who is on these things. All right, so a lot of people may not know that it's Ramroop owned the team. and that Ramroop is connected to Jagdeo, and that Jagdeo is connected to the PPP, and that the PPP is connected to the rise of the apartheid state. But I think Gary, I hear you, but I still think that people are going out there because of the love of the game. And you know, Guyana's not been getting a lot of cricket in recent decades, partly because of the weather, partly because where cricket is staged in the Caribbean now depends on who pulling the strings in the West Indies cricket board, or what they call Cricket West Indies. So we have not been getting a lot of competitive cricket. So people are going out there. Now, I think a lot of what is carrying the people there, apart from the love of the game, is the party. CPL is a party. If a test match comes tomorrow, or a one-day international comes tomorrow to Guyana, you're not going to get a quarter of the crowd out there. So they're going out there because it's a party. Yes, there are the people who go there because of the love of the game. But the majority of our people go out there to a party. That's what the CPL is the biggest party in town. I am arguing that if tomorrow you bring a test match to the stadium, you're not going to get a quarter of that crowd. Because a test match is not party. A test match is the real thing. So a lot of our people are going out there to party. And David Rudder has a song, Trinity to the Bone. He said, how we party is not how we vote. He's making a distinction between Trinidadians at Carnival and Trinidadians in politics. And I want to use Rudder's thesis to make a distinction between Guyanese at a festival game, festival cricket, and Guyanese in politics. So when you see Indian Guyanese and African Guyanese and Portuguese Guyanese out there jumping up for their team, how we party is not how we vote. How we party, we have always jumped up for our team, whether it's Guyana or whether it's the West Indies. We have always jumped up for our team. What is this big deal? And let me say something that the old-timers know. That is a big secret to the young people, I would imagine. When I start getting to cricket, when India and Pakistan visit Guyana and the West Indies, the Indian Guyanese, for the most part, supported Pakistan and India over the West Indies. That was a big deal in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. I don't know what happens now because we don't have too much of cricket in Guyana. But when India and Pakistan visited, and they visited Trinidad and Guyana, they got more support from Trinidadians, Indo-Trinidadians, and Indo-Guyanese. They supported Pakistan and India over the West Indies. Not all, but a critical mass of Indian Guyanese. I know the old timers will remember that. So what is this thing if African Guyanese and Indian Guyanese are out there at the cricket field having a nice time, and the PPP is said that is one Guyana. That is one Guyana. That's what they're trying to tell us. It is not one Guyana. Indians and Africans been partying together now for the better part of 3-4 decades. You go in the nightclub, a place that you never used to see Indians before, they're full in there. It first started with Indian men, and now you have Indian women in the dance hall partying with black people. What is this big deal as though it's something? We always party together. So if people are out there at the cricket having a nice time, what is this big thing about one Guyana? How we party is not how we vote. David Rudder said that. Sung about it in Trinity to the Bone, and it's applicable to Guyana. Now, last night, I tuned into the Gildari Freddie Kissoon show, and they had a fellow, Naim Chan. He is a cricket commentator, one of the better cricket commentators we produce after the Alcyon days of Rex Pereira and so forth. Very, very good commentator. And he hosts a program in the morning on Sharma Station, Channel 6, I think it is. And his uncle is a colleague of mine in WPA Moses Bagwan. And I have been on his program several times. He's a great admirer of Walter Rodney. And during the impasse, the 5 months impasse, he texted me once, and I can't remember the precise questions, but we had a little exchange, and it was clear that he had taken a certain position, the pro-Indian position on what was happening. And I say pro-Indian because what happened since 2020 is that there is a coming together of Indian, East Indian public expression as far as politics is concerned. A coming together of Indian business people, the Indian political elite, the Indian independence, the Indian underworld. There is a coming together of Indian public opinion and Indian political sentiment that is amazing. You hadn't seen that since the 1960s. But 2020 brought together Indian public opinion in a dramatic way. And I understand why. You see, 2020 had to do with power. Had to do with power. It had to do with economic power. It had to do with political power. And when power is at stake, people find common ground. I'm not vexing with Indians. When they go at the stadium, no power is at stake there. They party with black people. There's no power at stake there. How we party is not how we vote. There is no economic power at stake there. There is no political power at stake there. When economic and political power are at stake, our people turn inwards. When there is no political and economic power at stake, we tend to what? Turn outwards. That is normal in human relations. There is no power at stake. But let me get back to Naim. Brother Naim. Within the first minute of the program, my name was mentioned by one of the hosts. And when Naim gave his first or second comment, he said, very emotionally, he said, when he looked at Etmaya and Moti hugging, one person come to mind, David Hinds. One person come to mind, David Hinds, and he followed by saying, people like those are humbugging unity in Guyana. No, I love Naim. Always will love him. If I love somebody, I love somebody. I may disagree with them. But if I love you, I love you. That's how I was brought up. That's what Black people teach their children. Sometimes some of us argue that we have too much love. If I love you, I love you. I don't love you tomorrow and hate you the next day. I love Naim. I disagreed with him. It became clear when we were texting during that 5 months that he had taken a certain position. So we disagreed. But the venom with which Naim said when he saw Etmaya and Moti hugging, he thought of one person, David Hinds. And then he followed by saying those people are humbugging unity or something to that effect. No, there are a couple of things there. What David Hinds is saying today is being said by Indian people. It's being said by Freddie Kissoon. It's being said by people on the Indian side who are protecting and defending Indian interests. I am protecting and defending African interests. That was not always at the front of my politics, but it is now because I have concluded that what 2020 has unleashed on Guyana is a bitter struggle for survival in Guyana, in which one race is prepared to crush another race, or the leaders of one race are prepared to crush the people of another race in the name of the people of their race. And in such a situation, as a Black man, I cannot play wrong. I have to come to the defense of my people. That's where my politics are. But there are also a lot of Indian people, a lot of Indian columnists, a lot of Indian politicians who feel that they have to defend and protect the interests of Indian people. I've never heard Freddie Kissoon speak so often about Indian hurt and Indian victimhood, but he has been doing it since 2020. Because I think he recognizes that, look, we are in a racial struggle. And he has decided that he will defend his race. And I have decided I will defend my race. But Brother Naim focuses only on me. Freddie Kissoon is sitting next to him. When he sees Etmaya and Moti hugging, he remembers David Hinds. David Hinds come to mind. And these men are, these people are humbugging racial unity or progress or something. Now, listen. Naim Chan and Freddie Kissoon and the whole set of them, they have to decide. They have to decide. Does David Hinds influence anything in Guyana? Does David Hinds influence African Guyanese? Does David Hinds influence Indian Guyanese? According to them, I don't. So if I don't, why when you see Etmaya and Moti hug come to me, then I must have some influence. That's the first thing. The PPP and those who hate me have to decide, do I have influence or I don't? If I don't have influence, leave me alone. If I have influence, then say that and say what influence I have and say why I have influence. When my brother Naim saw Etmaya and Moti hug, he thought of David Hinds and how I am humbugging racial progress or racial unity in Guyana. Naim been around long. He commentating cricket now for 30 years. He has been following cricket before that. He must have known and he must have seen Clive Lloyd and Rohan Kanai hug up on the cricket field. He must have seen Roy Fredericks and Alvin Kalitcharan hug up. He must have seen Chandra Paul and Carl Hooper hug up. There is a calypso that the trade winds, Hooper and Chandra Paul. Our cricketers have always hugged up on the field of play. What are you all trying to tell Guyanese people? Our cricketers have always hugged up on the field of play. Morty and Etmire hugging up is nothing new. Our cricketers have always played as comrades on the field of play. Naim, you know better than that. So you are taking Etmire and Morty hugging up and trying to say if they hug up more and if David Hinds go to hell, Guyana would be a racially united place. Kanai and Butcher and Solomon been hugging up with Charlie Stairs and Berkeley Gaskin and Roy Fredericks from the 50s come right through. But have those hugs on the cricket field led to racial unity at the political level? No. That racial disunity has continued in Guyana despite our racial camaraderie on the field of play. Naim, you know better than that. You know that. You know that cricket has its insularity and its race. You know that Indian Guyanese, a critical mass of them supported Pakistan and India in the 70s and the 60s and the 80s. You know that. Why are you pretending that cricket is this place where we always have unity? Yes, for the most part, we have unity. Naim Chand sat on that program and recounted that after Lara resigned from the captaincy, Chandra Paul was next in line. And that he sat in the commentary box in Jamaica and saw the Jamaicans rooting for Jimmy Adams and putting down Chandra Paul. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. He said it was insularity, but it was insularity plus race. Jamaicans respond to Indian Guyanese different from Guyana. So don't present cricket as this place that is without any kind of racism. I have had cause to write columns when the previous cricket board was in control illegally, unlawfully, and they were giving all the Cricket West Indies monies that come in to those cricket boards, Essequibo and East Bank and West Demerara, which were controlled by East Indians and who were supporting the president today. And they were discriminating against East Coast and Linden. In fact, they didn't even want Linden to be a standalone board. They were discriminating against Georgetown. Under the previous cricket board, I wrote several columns of that on that, pointing out the racism by the previous cricket board. Galal, at one point when I wrote an article, he got the president, who apparently was his friend, to write a rebuttal. And they call on me, the Kaitron News call on me to give reason why I was saying what I was saying. What they didn't know is that I was following what was going on behind the scenes. And now we have a new cricket board of control. After a long struggle, when there was no change in the cricket board, it was controlled by one set of people. So what is this story about people like me preventing racial unity in Guyana? I didn't invent racial disunity. I didn't bring Africans unwillingly in chains to the West Indies. I didn't bring East Indians and pit them against Africans, make them better, make it look as though that they were better than blacks, creating the origins of our disunity. I did not create racial disunity. Racial disunity arose out of our history. Once you have groups in competition for scarce resources, and now we know once you have groups in competition for plenty resources, there will always be disunity and conflict. Because the problem is not with the people. The problem is not with the politicians. As people like to say, the people are united, but it's the politicians that divide them. That may be partly true. The problem in Guyana is that you have ethnic groups coming at different time, under different circumstances, making different contributions to our country. And so therefore, when it comes to dividing the resources, each group makes its own demand. We don't have a uniform demand. That is the root of the problem, not David Hinds. Not David Hinds. People choose because it's easy. It's easy to look at what is happening in Guyana. It's easy to look at Guyana where one ethnic group owns more wealth. Two ethnic groups own the majority of the wealth in the country. And one ethnic group which has been there longer owns 10% of the wealth. How do you explain that? Well, you don't want to get into the analysis of history. You don't want to get into the privileges groups have had at various times. So you create a simple answer, David Hinds. So when Moti and Etmaya hug, Naim remembers David. And Naim, I still love you. I disagree with you, but I still love you. And Naim went on to say, what struck me? Naim went on to list the names of WPA people who he admired. Clive Thomas and UC Kwayana and me. And I'm always, because I'm a country boy. And I come from a place of love. I come from a community of love. But I also come from a community of tough love. I come from a community where you can't play big shot on them because you get too title behind your name. So I don't take myself seriously. So I'm always taken aback when I hear people, as the Minister of Education, Ms. Priyam Manichan, and Niam Chan, I am always taken aback when I hear them say that they admired people like me. And I always try to understand what is the meaning of that. And I've come to the conclusion it's not about me, the individual, or Rupert Rupnarain, the individual, or Kwayani, the individual. It's about our politics. Our politics is radical politics, and you look all over the world. Young people of all races always are into radical politics. Now they don't vote for you. You know, if Malcolm X had formed a party, he wouldn't get plenty votes. But people are into radical politics. Young people wear any part of the world. And yes, we radicals in the WPF fired the imagination of the young people. My imagination was fired when I heard Walter Rodney and Clive Thomas and Moses Bagwan and them. So I understand that the younger generation coming after me would have been fired by my politics. Because I was fired by the same politics. All over the world, young people are into radical politics. So I try to come to grips with that because I don't want to believe that people like me so much, but it's the politics. So thanks for Indian young people who thought that I was an example for something positive. But according to Naim, according to Priya, all of that ended in March 2020. What is my crime? What is our crime? I've not heard any one of them say that I rigged the election. None of them have said that. A few of them have foolishly said that I supported rigging the election when I did not support, because to this day, I have not said the coalition won the election, and I have not said the PPP won the election. I said nobody won the election. It was a disputed election. So they can't vex with me for that. What they vex with me for is because in their head, there's a role for the black radical. After all, we black radicals helped to bring down a black government in the 1970s and 1980s, meaning the Burnham government. And who benefited from it more? Indians benefited from it. PPP went into power. They didn't share that power with us. Our radical struggle helped to bring down a black government. I'm being frank here tonight. And helped to put the PPP in power in 1992. If you're Indian support of the PPP, why wouldn't you love me for that? Why wouldn't you love Kwayana for that? Why wouldn't you love Rodney for that? Of course you will love us for that. I understand that. So now when the PPP is about to seize power in 2020, and I said, no, you vex with me because you feel that we black radicals are your water boys. And nobody water boy. And because I refuse to be your water boy in 2020, you've lost all respect for me. Brother Naim said last night on that program, after calling the WPA names, and he said, I have had them on my program, and I will never have them on my program again. I will never have them on my program again. And he said it with a passion. Unfortunately, that's where some of our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters have arrived. And a hatred for people like me. They don't hate the PNC because they feel the PNC is an electoral party, and the PNC will go in and contest the election with them. And then when the PNC lose, the PNC will make some noise. They figure out, and that's why they're hesitant about Aubrey Norton, because they're beginning to think that he's a different kind of PNC leader who's going to do the electoral thing, but also would howl upon them. He would refuse to shake their hand. And they don't like that. But they know that people like me, black radicals who didn't come up in the electoral politics, that we don't have to look over our shoulders. That I come here to you all and I say to you all are living in an apartheid state. I'm sugarcoating it because I'm not looking for votes. If it's apartheid, I say it's apartheid. And what those people, the PPP and some of our Indian Guyanese brothers, they wanted people like me on their side because they feel if people like me said that the PNC rigged the election, then it gives it some validation. Go to hell, you're not getting that from me. There are election petitions, and we will see what happens with election petitions. And because of my lack of validation, some of my good friends, like Brother Niam Chan, is so angry at me that he will never have me on his program again. Brother Naim, check yourself. I disagree with Ralph Ramkaran on what happened in 2020. But I've had Ralph on my program. I disagree with Christopher Ram on what happened in 2020, but I have Christopher Ram on my program. And there are some of my friends like Clement Roy and Daniel Ramotar, who I've known for a long time. I disagree with them on 95% of their politics. But I will have them on my program. You know why, Naim? I got political upbringing. I grew up in a village in which I was taught love. I was taught toughness. I was taught fierce resistance, but I was also taught love. And this political disagreement with people doesn't lead me to tell them they can't come a program. Brother Naim, there's something you can learn from me. How to disagree without hatred. I love you. I still love you. I still love you. I grew up in the village where people say, "Now make them push you a fire." Now make them put your stomach pump plimper. And a lot of our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters allow themselves to be pushed into the fire. They allow themselves to be caught up with this quest for power and domination. And so they see people like myself who stand up and say no. They hate our guts. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. So when the brother sees Admire and Moti Hog, he thinks about me. I love you, Naim, and I hope you see the light soon and regain that part of your loving humanity that you've surrendered. What happened in 2020 was defining. It was defying not just for Indians, it was defying for black people too. You all think it was just defying for one race. What happened in 2020 is that everything we were kicking down the road from 1955 became face to face with it in 2020. The 2020 election was not about votes. The votes manifested something deeper than election. 2020 was about who gets what, when, and how in Guyana. Who distributes the potential wealth that is coming? That is what the 2020 election was about. It was about rigged election, and election being rigged in Guyana from the time Noah was a scout. 2020 was not about rigging election. 2020 was about who governs, who distributes, who gives orders, who gets to run around the place and share out money like Father Christmas, who gets to keep part of the treasury in the bedroom. So when man report, oh God, I lose $5 million in Pillory, you go in, you treasure in your bedroom and take it out and go and give them the $5 million. 2020 election was about that. 2020 election was about Barbados, which used to kick Guyanese out, recognizing that now Guyanese got money and they want piece of the action. Sister Mia, who I love, you think Sister Mia did what she did in 2010 because she loved Indian people and she loved thing? No, 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 no. She did what she had to do to protect Barbadian interests and to give Barbadian a foot in. And Jacques Dior and her finally got to pay her back for what she did for them. 2020 election was about power. 2020 election was about oil. 2020 election was about Venezuela. 2020 election was about Exxon. 2020 election was not about rigged election. PPP been rigging election from the time Noah was a small boy. It's just that they shout and pin it from the PNC, and the PNC don't know to unpin it from itself. But now, people like me, pinning it also on the PPP. Oh, I've lost respect for Dr. Hinds. Has Dr. Hinds ever disrespect you? No, Naim, I've never disrespected you. Has Dr. Hinds ever disrespected East Indians? No. I have better things to do than to disrespect East Indians. I'm trying to teach black people respect. And I'm trying to teach black people not to take disrespect. I got black people work to do. I ain't got time, to abuse half Indian people. It'll never be in my politics. The leader of the party that I belonged to for a long time was Dr. Rupert Rupnarain, an East Indian. It's not his race. It's that his politics and my politics were the same. That's my political upbringing. And they got a lot of Bostonians in this audience can tell you Rupert Rupnarain can walk in the darkest night in Boston. In the darkest night in Boston, his brother Rupert. They try to say we are racist. You see, I don't like to defend myself on these things because I really don't think it's worth defending. When Indian people were being killed from the base in my village, Buxton, I joined with Brother AUC and Sister and I and said, not in our name. And if I see Black people coming under attack and I black like tar, and you telling me I must join with you in propping up an apartheid regime against my people? Oh no. Oh no. There comes a time that you have to take a stand. There was a time when I take a stand, my politics was about social class. It was about Marxism, and I'm still a Marxist. I make no bones about that. I believe that Karl Marx's analysis of capitalism is still the most superior. But Marxism and capitalism is not the issue, not the primary issue in Guyana. The primary issue in Guyana is that God has blessed us with some oil, which is the source of quick wealth. And you have two major ethnic groups laying claim to that wealth. And the leaders of one group are using the majoritarian political system to seize that wealth and put it in the hands of one group. That's the issue. Yes, Exxon is going to take a lot of our oil money. But that's not my primary issue. My primary issue is that when Exxon take Wolf, who owns it, that's my primary issue. I tell Glenn that. Glenn fighting oil. Good, Glenn. I don't have a problem with that. But I've been in politics long enough to know that you're not going to be a small country with no bargaining chip. And you're going to be able to squeeze from Exxon what you want. What I know is that what is left as a result of the profit sharing, my people must get their fair share, not just a share, their fair share. Maybe the Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters who fight in Exxon, they don't have to fight for Indian people to get a real fair share because the Indian bourgeoisie get more than their fair share. Joy, you're right. The oil is blighted and cursed. You're right. But I'm saying that insofar of what is coming, our people have to get what is coming. I regret that good people like Naim Chan and others are into, I mean, I understand racial solidarity. I understand it. Racial solidarity is a fact of life. And I'm not annoyed if the brothers decide that, look, this has come down to the distribution of wealth. And I am taking the side of my ethnic group. I'm not vexing with that. But don't try to cover it up and tell me about Etmaya Hogan Moti. Etmaya Hogan Moti is not going to change one damn thing tomorrow insofar as the apartheid state is concerned. The apartheid state will use that hog as the mask to continue to a full-blown apartheid state. How we party is not how we vote. How we party is not how we vote. And you all have to decide. My brother Albert is saying I cannot love anyone who's trying to keep me down. And that's exactly what the so-called Indians are doing to Black people in Guyana. Time for us to get ruthless and push back. They would want us to believe that I go in Margaret and put in Margaret. They just believe that our people have no sense. We have no feeling. And that what is people like David Hinds. All that David Hinds is doing is amplifying what you all know. Because you all feel it more than me. I heard that one Freddie Kissoon said people mustn't buy American things from this store. They must buy sorrel, Guyana sorrel. When I say that Black people must buy black pudding in their own village, oh God, oh Lord, I's black pudding man. Well, I didn't know it's sorrel boy. Because I won't even call him a man. Because he's behaving like a boy. He's sorrel boy. Saying the same thing that I saying. He's saying it at the level of country. I saying it at the level of village. My own. But when I say it, it's racist. Sorrel boy, that's what you all must call it now. Sorrel boy. He's advertising Marseille sorrel. He's advertising Marseille sorrel boy. That's what he's done. He sits there and encourages Kriya and Naim to say how they used to admire David Hinds, but they don't admire anymore. And young Darren Wade and Ganesh Maipal sit there in front of him and say, we used to admire you, but we don't admire you no more. That never happened as far as Freddie's concerned. He didn't hear that. He hear Indian people who don't admire me no more. He don't hear Black people and Indian people, because Ganesh is Indian, who said, we used to read you, but the Lord of that you are writing now, we no longer admire you. You ain't hear that yet. Donkey is big, but in a hear jackass is, no? It's big in a hear your own story. Sorrel boy, that's what we done now. Advertising sorrel for Marseille. And when I say the same thing, buy local, I'm a racist. I'm a racist. They will have to deal with me. They will have to deal with me so long as they remain in power. Because I am not hiding my objective. I'm not hiding my objective. My objective is that any regime that is plotting in the way that the PPP is plotting to keep one ethnic group down is morally wrong. You are targeting Black people. You are targeting Black people to treat them as second-class citizens by giving them little handouts. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? Go target East Indian people and give them handouts and see how fast they chase you. When you go in there, you better go with big money. But you feel that you can come with little freck in the Black community and tell them that that is development because you are past them. And you may get through with a few. You may get through with some for a short time. But you can't get past people like me. You can't get past people like me. Thank you all so very much. Thank you all so very much. Oh, we party is not how we vote. We always admire and Moti always hug. They've been hugging from the time cricket start. From the time you had Valentine and Ramdin, those two little pals of mine, Indian cricketers and African cricketers, been hugging. Turning festival cricket into some kind of racial unity, you're fooling yourself because you're not fooling people. You're fooling yourself because you're not fooling anybody. By the way, as I go, for me, the greatest Guyanese batsman, Rohan Babulal Kanai. The greatest Guyanese batsman of all time is the man who falls on his back and hit the ball out of the ground. Indo-Caribbean artistry at its best. Rohan Babulal Kanai. Fred Wills, when Kanai was to become the captain, used to do a commentary on radio in the 70s. Bright boy, Fred Wills. That's what them big men used to say in the village. He said, boy, listen, bright boy, Fred Wills. Fred Wills used to end his commentary every Sunday night, and the next captain of Guyana must be Rohan Babulal Kanai. I love Rohan Kanai. He's the greatest Guyanese batsman. And, Clive Lloyd is my greatest captain and greatest fieldsman ever. Carl Looper is the greatest artist with a bat in his hand. With a bat in his hand, he becomes poetry in motion. Good night. I gotta go. See you all tomorrow night. We're gonna have a test tomorrow night. I'm playing everybody cricketing tonight, and maybe tomorrow night. But I'll be on tomorrow night. Thank you all for joining me and for teaching me and for making me happy and for giving me sponge to give me sponge to carry on. Good night.